What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another spring practice report episode. It is April 1st, April Fool's Day. Not a lot of notes that I could find for today's stuff, but a lot of it is central in the Pac 12. So, for today's show, we're going to take a ride around Pac 12 country. All right, so just four schools today we're going to talk about. Again, not really a lot going on spring practice report wise. We do have a couple games, two that went on today actually. Southern Miss played as has I believe I'm sorry Georgia State as well as Syracuse. I have not seen any updates on those, but I'll get those and we'll definitely talk about that on Monday. Again, Michigan and Southern Miss, Charlotte all go tomorrow. On Sunday, we get Coastal Carolina and Louisville. So I'm going to try and update you guys on all of those as, again, we lead into what is going to be a massive weekend next weekend for spring games. But on to the Pac-12 stuff for today. Arizona State. The offense is still struggling in practice. There's been a lot of miscommunication, players running the wrong routes, wrong play calls, and the defense just seems to be dominating. Whether that is a, or not a benefit, but a reaction to how bad the offense has been, I honestly don't know. But Arizona State's offense has just not been good. Dalen McLemore, I believe is how you say his name, really wasn't doing much through the first couple weeks of spring practice here for Arizona State, but the last two practices has been practicing with the ones at quarterback and twos. When camp started out for Arizona State, it was Trenton Bourgo and Paul Tyson, the transfer from Alabama. However, on Saturday last week, McLemore started taking second-team reps, and then twice this week, he has actually been practicing with the ones. A lot of the reports are it's still kind of hard to read who's going to be the starter here, but the one thing that was pointed out was McLemore, who is a third-year starter, just seems to have more zip on his balls than the other two, just seems to be passing a little bit better. So that's something to watch out for. I don't know that we want the quarterback from Arizona State, but the fact that McLemore has now jumped in here over the past couple practices and was an afterthought. It was all about Trenton Bourgo and Paul Tyson when we first started talking about these practices, I think is something to watch out for. Elijah Badger, Ricky Pearsall have really established themselves as the top two wide receivers on this team. While there's still a lot of talk about how good LV Bunkley Shelton will be for them, he has been limited in practice due to an injury. And Badger apparently has been the most impressive and was last year as well, but that didn't translate on the field. So will that translate this year? I don't know, but Badger and Pearsall have really been the top two. Bunkley Shelton still getting a lot of love, though, from the coaching staff. Going over to the running back room really quick. We know that it's likely going to be Xavier Valade and Daniel Nada. Nada's getting a lot of love, though. They're calling him a very slippery back who shows a lot of flash. Obviously the big question is, can he carry the workload as their workload back? I will say that, and I don't know how to say his name, but their running back coach says that he thinks he can, and that they will know if he can do it through the first two games. So when you hear that we'll know through two games. If not, it can carry the load. I feel like he's going to be the starter. He's been running with the ones a lot. I know Valade got some run with the ones in the last spring practice report when we talked about Arizona State. But the fact that you have the running backs coach saying we'll know through two games, if not, it can handle the workload or not, to me says he's going to be the starter. I may be reading too much into that, but that's just my thoughts. Going over to Arizona, sticking right there in the same state. I know I talked about him on the very first time I talked about Arizona. Running back Jonah Coleman is just quickly becoming the guy in this running back room. He has been difficult to bring down, even by upperclassmen, according to this. He's been a legitimate part of the passing game. And there was a big thing here in this where not only did he make a big catch in the latest spring practice report, but there was a fumble and he was willing to jump on it and beat out defenders to get the ball. He also caught a ball with his fingertips in the end zone for a big touchdown. Jonah Coleman is becoming the hot name in Arizona. I promise you nobody's talking about him anywhere else. he's the guy that I would get for the running back position here for Arizona, which I do think is going to be a much better team this year with the team that they're building around him. I've talked a lot about Noah Fafita, who I really like at quarterback, but Jaden Delora is going to start more than likely. The wide receivers, it's probably been a little bit since we've talked about them. Tatora McMillan is just continuing to dominate. So Christian Roland Wallace is considered one of their best corners, physical corner, and he has been going almost one-on-one with Tet every single practice, according to the reports. And for the most part, Roland's kind of been getting the better out of him, except for these past two practices where McMillan is really starting to hold his own. He beat him for 2 touchdowns today, one where he beat him off the line, and another one where he got him on a comeback route, also scored a touchdown. So Tatora McMillan, we talked about it, was making great catches on the sidelines, just kind of really showing off in that first practice, has really started to continue to make a name for himself. And then, according to this report, and you just love to hear this, right? Jacob Cowing has been impossible to cover with one defender so far. Now, maybe that just speaks to Arizona's defense. I don't know. But they've said his speed and just overall vision of finding holes in the secondary has been incredible and on display in every single practice. You can see why he was one of the best receivers in the portal. He is just getting a lot of love. And then Anthony Simpson has been as well. He's kind of been the third guy, but he's been getting a lot of love as well, making a couple one-handed catches in practice, really impressing the coaching staff. But again, Tatora McMillan, Jacob Cowing just seem to be the dudes in Arizona's practice. And I think we'll get a fair amount of workload with Jaden Delora being the quarterback. So those are two guys that I would definitely target. Said I was much higher on Tet than most of the guys in the freshman guy. I know he fell fairly down for us, but I do think he's going to really kind of shoot up. He's going to be one of those guys I think we maybe kind of regret ranking as low as we did. Going over to Stanford, I posted this run earlier. Last night, actually, is when I saw it. But E.J. Smith continues to impress at Stanford's practice. He had a couple really long runs in practice, and Coach Shaw has been very complimentary of Smith, saying that he's exactly what we hoped for. We saw this out of him in last spring. Now we're seeing it again. We're really excited. Hope he stays healthy so we continue to see this in season. So again, E.J. Smith, I think he's a really good running back, taking away the fact that he's Emmitt Smith's son. That has nothing to do with it. Watching what he was able to do against a Texas competition as a freshman coming out, as I did write his freshman profile at that time for a different website. He's a guy that I've been a really big fan of. I think he can do it all. He's not the fastest back, but I think he's shifty enough. He's got enough speed, really good receiving back. I'm very interested to see what he does here at Stanford. Talk about him being a receiving back, though. You need Tanner McKee to get him the ball. McKee has thrown picks in multiple practices. Now, I know, may not mean anything, right? Go back a couple years ago, Jimmy G, 49ers practice, threw like 5 interceptions, and then he took that team to the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure, that year. I'm not saying Tanner McKee is going to take Stanford to the Pac-12 championship and into the playoffs, but I do want to note that he has been throwing his fair amount of interceptions in practice, and that Bradley Archer and Cale Lucas have looked the best at wide receiver. Don't know if that's really going to matter, but I wanted to point that out. Last but not least, we're going to go to Washington, who is now 2 practices in here. There was an 11-on-11 session today. I'm sure you guys saw it. It was kind of making the rounds everywhere on Twitter. Penix hit Rome Odunze for a about 60-yard touchdown pass. Was said to be a really good pass that he just dropped it perfectly into Odunze's hand, who was able to get by cornerback Michael Powell, and it was a beautiful throw. However, the part of the story that is not getting reported is that Sam Heward found Giles Jackson with a beautiful throw in between 2 defenders. The zip on it made Jamarcus Shepard jump up, who is the the wide receivers coach, because Jackson did get a nice catch on it as well. And parents and players in the stands to drop a bunch of oohs and ahs. So it wasn't all about Michael Penix, but he was running with the 1, so it does need to be stated. Right now in this past practice, it was Penix with the 1s, Heward with the 2, Morris with the 3s. It is being reported by, I believe, their quarterback coach and obviously Kalen DeBoer, who is their head coach. I'm trying to pull up what his name was again. I'm sorry. I don't know where it went. I just lost it. Where is it? Ryan Grubb. That it will be a full on competition. Now, again, it needs to be stated. If you guys are in our Discord, you saw the conversation between a bunch of us today. I mean, Michael Penix knows DeBoer. They were together in Indiana, I believe, for a season. And I believe he recruited Penix, and Penix chose Washington over UCF. So he clearly feels he's got a chance to start here, but I don't think it's his job. I do think it is an open competition between the three. And I will state again, we saw what Jake Haener was able to do with Washington. I just feel Sam Heward is better than Penix as a prospect, as a quarterback, fits the system better. I think Heward's going to win the job. But would it surprise me if Penix does? No, of course not. Ooh, I'm about to sneeze. Sorry. Because Penix has been a starter in the system. He knows the offense. So I'm very curious to see how this battle goes down. Obviously, great first day for Penix to hit a big play to Odunze, but Heward was good himself as well. We just didn't want to talk about that because, yeah. So that is it for my spring practice reports today, though. Not much going on. A bunch of teams kicking up practice again today, but haven't really seen many updates on those. And then tomorrow, we've got the spring game. So I'll post some notes on those if I'm able to watch most of them. And then we'll obviously recap all of those on Monday. Everybody have a great day, great weekend. We will talk to you guys again next week.